What made you take that leap?
I was fired.
Okay.
I was trained to be a lawyer in a law firm where they didn't have enough work for me to do. I always felt like there was something missing for me. So I ended up managing a LinkedIn account of the woman who owns the law firm. At the time, I didn't even know what personal branding was. Company posts are boring. I realized how powerful it was to bring that person to the forefront of the company, but align it with their socials. This is what I'm good at. This is what I want to niche in.
There's so much room out there for authentic voices still.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that I feel that people are making is they will post for the sake of posting and then burn out.
Habibis, welcome to another episode of Habibis Numbers with me, the Chief Tech Habibi, Ayman Kauri from Scope. At Scope, we help accounting firms and SMEs with their digital transformation journeys, getting you from a series of kind of stuck together spreadsheets with duct tape and random other systems here and there to something a bit more coherent that will actually help your business grow. Now, we normally have guests from the world of accounting or from technology, because that's kind of what we do, it's accounting tech. But today we've actually got someone who is from the world of marketing, and that's Mouna Ramdani, the founder of GoFounder, which is a personal branding company for your business. Now, Mouna and I go back a couple of years. We brought her in to do a talk at an event that we run called Accounting Refigured, whereby we had a load of accounting and finance people in a room, and their forte isn't normally this kind of personal branding space. Normally, they're really good at the figures and helping other businesses grow with really cool and really good accounting and finance advice. But Mouna came in from a different angle that will help their business grow, help them stand out in a market which is increasingly getting more saturated. And that's most businesses' challenges. They don't know how to necessarily market their business well. And personal branding has become one of these emerging areas where it's becoming even more and more important to know how to get yourself out there. So we spoke about exactly that and some really, really good tips from Mouna in this episode. I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this and other episodes, please do like and subscribe. Enjoy the episode, Habibis. Hey Mouna, thanks for coming on Habibis and Numbers. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. It's been a little while actually since we've had a chat and seen each other.
And you've been ignoring my messages.
Is that what it is?
No, it's not been.
I think you've been gallivanting around the world, isn't it?
I have been busy. Yeah.
Where have you been? Where have your travels taken you recently?
Oh my goodness, recently I went to Albania. Fantastic. I feel really overlooked. Amazing location, especially if you're from somewhere like Morocco. It gives that summery vibe. And then I went to Corfu as well. This was last week.
Oh, that's just last week.
That was last week, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How was it? I've never been to either of those
life.
places actually. Never been to Greece, never been to Albania.
You have to do those two together because they're very close.
Okay.
It's like a boat ride, 20 minutes. Fantastic. It's a great week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right. It's on the bucket list now.
Yeah, you have to put it on. Yeah. And Malaysia.
Oh, I've done that.
Okay, yeah. Where?
I did a few places. So we went to the capital, which Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
Then we went to Langkawi.
Langkawi, yeah.
And Penang. So we did like 3.
You did really good places there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I loved every place, and the food was amazing. People friendly, weather's great, and they're all different as well.
It's very different there. I feel I don't feel like it was a huge culture shock or something, but I feel like there was something so new about Malaysia because I went to Korea in the same trip, but Korea felt more. I don't know. It was a culture shock, but it felt somehow like Dubai. I don't know what it was about it. But then with Malaysia, there was something so different about the people and the energy. I just loved it.
Yeah, I second that. So if anyone hasn't been to Malaysia, do Malaysia. It's amazing.
Go to Malaysia.
So, okay, I just want to know a little bit about yourself. So we've known each other for a couple of years now. I think we met, probably it was online randomly. I think we were in the same circles. We were part of the same networking group. We never actually met in the networking group, I think.
No, we didn't, because I kept not going.
Yeah, you signed up to this thing and then didn't show up to any of them.
Honestly, you know what it was? I was traveling. No. Every single one of them, I had to cancel my subscription because I was like, I can't make it. I'm sorry. I don't know how that ended up happening because I wasn't even traveling that much.
Yeah, you end up in personal branding, and we'll get onto that instead of travel blogging. Maybe
true.
Maybe that should have been your industry. But let's take people back. So obviously you're known here for your personal branding and being the guru all things personal branding over here in the UAE at the moment. And we met to talk about that initially. And since then, you got involved in a couple of the events that we've run, which we'll also talk about. But can you take us way back? Because I'm fairly sure a few years ago, that wasn't even on the cards for you, was it, personal branding?
No, definitely not. If we're talking like maybe 7 years ago, when I was training to be a lawyer, it was completely different to what I'm doing now. And me working in a law firm where they didn't have enough work for me to do. So I ended up managing a LinkedIn account of the woman who owns the law firm. And at the time, I didn't even know what personal branding was. But essentially, that led me into when I moved here, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I love working on social media. Let me do social media management. At the time, I still didn't know what personal branding was. And somebody randomly was like, oh, I also need my LinkedIn managed. So I started managing their LinkedIn, and I realized like how powerful it was to bring that person to the forefront of the company, but align it with their socials. And so then from then on, I realized like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to niche in. And that's what I've been doing since, yeah. And I think it's been 3 years consistently, I would say, personal branding.
Amazing, yeah. I do quite like these stories about how people are in one industry and switch into something completely different, right? What made you go into law in the first place, though?
Honestly, at the time, my parents said, you have to go to uni. And I was like, okay, well, fine, I'll go to uni. And the only thing that interested me was law, because I enjoy heavy reading. And it was either politics or law. And at the time also, I was very into politics. But I thought, oh, I'd be such a good lawyer. You know, Elwood's?
Yeah.
Something about that movie. Do you know that movie?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's a movie of this blonde girl who like gets into Harvard and becomes a lawyer, and she's like wins every case. And you know, when you see that and you see Suits, you're like, I could do that. Easy.
Is it like Legally Blonde?
Yeah, Legally Blonde.
Yeah,
sorry, I meant Elwood as the character.
Oh yeah,
my
I was going to say
yeah. So
yeah, the name rang a bell, but
so okay. And you know, you watch Suits, and you're like, I can do this. Looks so easy, looks fun. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Tend to be so politics and law were the two options.
Yeah.
People don't always have kind things to say about those people for some reason. Those industries. Yeah, I don't know. People will say, "Oh, lawyers," or I don't subscribe to these stereotypes in general. But people say, "Oh, lawyers are always trying to."
I was like 17, and they were saying like, "Figure out what you want to do with your life," and I was like, "Okay, I'll do a law."
And no one likes politicians ever, do they?
That's true. Yeah.
So maybe you wanted some criticism.
Maybe it was what I was seeking. I don't know. But it's just what ended up happening.
Okay, but then you moved away from it anyway.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, that wasn't working in the law firm wasn't my first stint in social media management. I was basically working in a restaurant when I was very young, and they had a social media page that wasn't doing very well. So I started posting for them. And this was like completely free. I was bored at work, and I just started posting. And the post started getting a lot of traction. I was like, oh, like this is quite fun. So I continued. They started paying me for it. And I was quite young at that time. I was like 15. And so I think when I say I've got 10 years experience, I do have 10 years experience from 18 when I started doing the LinkedIn for my law firm management. But I technically have 13 years experience now because I started at 15. So yeah.
There you go. So making that move then, not only into a new industry, but eventually breaking out and going on your own as a freelancer. What made you take that leap?
I was fired from a job. So I wasn't just the only person fired. There was 10 of us that were fired on the same day. It wasn't technically redundancy either. It was firing. It was a very interesting situation. I didn't do anything. They managed to somehow, like, because it was before the end of my probation, they managed to find a reason that was valid enough, as well as all the other people that they fired on that day. Anyway, so obviously at that point, I'm like, okay, I've done 2 jobs in social media marketing and I love it, but what am I going to do with my life? Just keep going to jobs? Like, I know myself inherently, I've always been an entrepreneur. Even from a young age. So I've always been like buying and selling clothes. So I knew I could do it myself. And sometimes you kind of fall into a place where like an opportunity comes in front of you. I had a freelance opportunity in front of me. It was going to pay me peanuts, but it was my sign, you know, and I was like, I'm going to take it and just see how it goes. And it just went from there.
Speaking of signs, people might notice that I'm missing the Habibis Numbers sign, which I'm devastated about. I broke it this morning. But it'll be back soon. But okay, so on on that journey, and I totally get it. Like, I also got made redundant actually, even from my last role. I know it's not quite the same and doesn't hit the same, but equally,
I
it's
mean,
like,
redundancy is, especially when you've really been in that role for a while and
yeah,
you've got used to the people around you and your routine, it affects your whole life.
it does, yeah. And you know what? I've actually never quit a job since I've been a professional. I've never been
Wow.
like fired per se, but a previous role, we got acquired and new company came in, US company. It was British owned. The company I was at got US owned, and they came in with a brand new contract that I just wasn't happy with. So
Okay.
we ended up not agreeing. Let's
Parting
say
ways,
yes, the
let's
official
say.
term. Let's not get
Yeah.
into details. I'm not sure if I'm under any kind of legal
Legally,
obligations.
yeah.
But yeah, and since then, yeah, the next role, yeah, I ended up getting made redundant after a few years of that. So yeah, it happens. And both of us ended up being entrepreneurs on the back of it. And I don't know how you feel, but I personally feel like it was probably the best thing to happen to me.
Definitely. It was definitely the best thing to happen to me. And obviously for you, you have your family as well. It's a huge risk for you. Yeah, I'm by myself. It's completely different. But obviously I was by myself in this country, which is very far away from my family. But I knew that Dubai itself had the potential that I was looking for, because I've always been, especially in the UK, I loved living there. But I always felt like there was something missing for me, that I didn't feel like my growth could happen there. And so when I moved here and I had my job and then I got fired and, those things kind of happened, I realized, like, if I want to grow, I've got to do it in this space that's hard. And I had to sit in it. I had to make it happen.
I think it's that belief that really makes entrepreneurs stand out. I think I've always had that belief in me. So even when I was an employee, I was kind of like a little entrepreneur in the companies. I'd always push the boundaries, and I didn't last long in a particular role. I'd always be seeking some kind of additional responsibility or progression in every role I've done. I think some people are kind of there for the comfort. That's not most entrepreneurs, I think. I think we're there to challenge ourselves. And I think when I was faced with that, like yourself, it was just like, well, maybe I've now got an opportunity to do that thing that I wanted to do, even though it's going to be difficult probably.
Yeah. And especially if from my perspective, I had that thing in my mind where I was like, I've moved country, I can't fail, and I think if I went home, I would have felt like I failed, even though that's not the case. It just kept me motivated, really.
Yeah. But also, I imagine, so we both were raised in the UK, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine going back to the UK wasn't a particularly appealing thought in itself. And I'll say this, I loved living in the UK and growing up there. I used to big it up all the time to I'd go to Lebanon for family holidays almost every year. And my cousins asked me what it's like, and I'd be like, oh, it's amazing, it's so good, like you can do X, Y, and Z, you don't have to worry about this and all that, you don't have to worry about electricity cutting out like we've got in Lebanon.
Oh yeah, you do have that, yeah.
All these kind of challenges that we've got, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. But now, hey, I wouldn't be surprised to give it a few years if we start seeing power cuts in the UK. It just seems to have been going downhill quite a lot, and I worry for it, honestly, I do. And I tried to get out at the right time.
Honestly, I think you did get out at the right time. I mean, for you as well. But I think what the issue really is that it's no longer forward thinking, and therefore the people who are younger are suffering. But when the people who are younger are suffering, it affects the older people, it affects their retirements, it affects every single small aspect of the cost of living is affecting people who already own homes. Can you imagine how it affects people who don't own homes?
Yeah.
Who are trying to buy a home. So, like, for example, one of my closest friends just purchased a home in the UK, which is an amazing thing to do in your late 20s in the UK, And I'm so proud of her. And she's like, this has been the worst experience of my life. And she's still having to borrow from family. She's having to do so many things to keep on top of it, despite the fact that she works full-time, her husband works full-time. They've been saving since they were like 18, Just those small things that like used to be maybe more accessible, maybe keeps people happier. I do think that's really affecting the way that young people are feeling, or young adults as well.
100%. It's really affecting everyone. And it is sad to see. And
Yeah.
I genuinely do wish the UK well. I can't currently see an opportunity that would bring it back to where I would need it to be personally. I'm
Couldn't
personally
sway
very
your
happy
head.
here. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very difficult. I think I'd sooner try other places if things didn't work out here. And so far, alhamdulillah, I think the UAE's been very welcoming.
Yeah.
And as for where I'm at in my life and for the business, it makes a lot of sense for us. My kids are very happy here, and that's what matters, I think, for us. And I think we're seeing lots of other people making the move. I think even more so than before now.
Yeah. It's a big move. I mean, obviously, my husband's in real estate and people are contacting him daily. They're moving over. It's obviously there is a big demand of people living here, but his demand is really coming from the people overseas who are trying to find a better life for their family.
Yeah,
Which I completely understand.
for sure. Okay, so you're now in a new country. You've reinvented yourself as a personal brander. What were those early days like? Because I know starting a business can come with uncertainty and occasional feelings of imposter syndrome and this kind of thing. Lots of founders experience that. What was it like for you?
Imposter syndrome, I could speak hours about that. I did feel it at the beginning, even though I had like all that experience working in that law firm, doing the personal branding for like 3 years straight. I think the processes at the beginning, that's where I really it was not my best suit. I didn't know what the process even looked like to invoice somebody. I didn't know what the process looked like for my client to approve content and then for us to get it up. And then is there any issues? Like just all those small things. There's so many different processes. Sending the proposal, when the proposal gets replied to, do they automatically book a call with me, or do I have to ask them what time is? Like those small things that I've now automated. I wish I was there now, where I am now then. However, these are all learning curves.
It's part of the journey.
Yeah,
It's absolutely part of the journey. And I think so many of us, we become business owners, and you don't get into it because you've done all of those different aspects of being a business owner before. We're probably good at one or two of the things required.
Yeah.
And then everything else we're having to learn on the job.
Definitely.
So yeah, 100% agree with that. And I think actually this probably brings us on quite nicely to like the need for personal branding in a business, right? So many businesses out there, let's say, we work quite a lot with SMEs, but we have a specific niche with accounting firms.
Okay.
Accounting, quite a traditional industry, right? And what we find is that most of these guys that have become business owners in accounting firms were probably just accountants themselves one day and eventually decided, hey, I want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they've learned how to market their businesses, and often marketing gets put to one side. So where do you see like the biggest gaps in like these kind of traditional industries and firms that don't have this kind of strong marketing engine? Because there's two aspects to it, right? There's the business brand and the personal brand, and people often don't know how to navigate the two.
And I do think what's missing currently is also the blend, because I think one thing that a business will say they have is culture. They'll say like, oh yeah, we have a strong company culture, but they don't relay that through their personal brand and through the business branding. And then I think that's what makes them less relatable. And then also, I think the traditional companies tend to think that they need to have this like big, like insane personal brand that's like, so showy offy, but that's not needed. But you do need to get the word out there. And also it's not just about getting the word out there. It's being about really authentic about why you chose to start that business, because there's probably a reason why you did. There's probably something lacking in other accountancy firms that you think you're doing better and you're streamlining for your client, or you're making it more accessible for them. And people aren't aware of that. And even if your company puts a post out, if you're being real with yourself, sometimes company posts are boring, and they are what's needed. For example, if you run it as an ad, maybe that's ideal situation. But as a person, you can get that word out better. You can get the understanding of why the company did what it did better, and then eventually build up the company through that.
This is actually something that I often hear from people, because we've also run these workshops together, right, at Accounting Refigured, the kind of accounting tech event that we do, whereby you're sitting there working with accounting firm owners or people in accounting finance and trying to get them to understand how to put themselves out there in terms of personal brands, right? And one of the things that we often hear in those situations is, well, I don't want to be seen as the face of the business. I don't want the business to revolve around me, or I don't want to put myself out there. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm quite a reserved person.
Yeah.
What does that reservation or that mindset mean for their business?
Well, firstly, I want to say usually what they really mean is they don't want to be a big LinkedIn guru. And that's not what a personal branding expert or a LinkedIn manager would do for them. It would moreover translate what you've been talking about anyway. When you go and network in person, it would translate that online. Everything that you've been trying to push when you're sending out a proposal, it will translate that online. I think the implications now is that there are other people who are ahead of them in some aspects, other people who want to put their business out there. And so when I now think of an accountancy firm or I need a financial service, I will think of you, because I'm thinking, oh, well, Eamon was talking about XYZ on his post. Maybe he knows what that is, but the reason that I don't think about these random companies that I have no idea of, I've never heard of, I probably don't resonate with them because I'm not going to look for them or ever see them on my feed because they don't come through my algorithm. That's what they're missing. They're not realizing that they're over here. So when somebody needs a really specific service and they're Googling or they're searching on Instagram, maybe they will find you. But when somebody is having that thought process at home of, oh, I really need help with XYZ, and oh wait, Eamon, Eamon might have a financial service that can help me in this situation. That's how a normal person will process that information that you've put online. Whereas I'm not going to go out my way to look at a company page, especially because a lot of company pages are not translated very well. You can go on the page and I don't understand still what you do. Yeah, it happens very often.
Yeah, I think our website can be confusing at times, and it's normal, I suppose,
Yeah.
because we often don't want to. So on a website, most people don't niche down enough because they don't want to cut off other potential clients,
customers,
right?
Definitely.
And I'm sure we'll talk about niching a bit more later on. But so I totally hear that, and I agree. People do really need to get themselves out there a lot more because it's a very noisy market, and particularly somewhere like the UAE and Dubai specifically, you have everyone is trying to get your attention here. And if you're in accounting, there's thousands of accounting firms out there. Why am I going to choose you? Now you'll say, oh, but our service is way better. And okay, maybe some people you'll get referrals where someone has referred you for that excellent service, and that's amazing. But not everyone's going to get a referral. And also, you want to be front of mind. Now, one thing that I often hear about marketing in general is people say, oh, we tried marketing, it didn't work. I'm sure you've heard this.
Oh my
and they probably had like a junior person that just happens to be young, and so they've assumed that they know how to use social media, and they've had them to do social media posts with very little direction probably, and said, oh yeah, we tried it for 3 months and it didn't work.
Yeah.
The problem I see actually a lot of times with people trying to attribute all marketing efforts to short-term sales or leads is a big problem, because brand isn't something that pays off typically in a very short term.
Yeah.
Does that stand true with personal branding in your experience?
I would agree with that completely. And I think as well, I think what smaller companies do is they compare themselves to someone like, let's say in your case, maybe Deloitte, they'll compare themselves to Deloitte and they'll say, oh, but Deloitte doesn't have a personal branding person. But actually they do. If you actually go on to the management in Deloitte, they actually are quite active on their LinkedIn, for example, on their socials. They are talking about the progression of Deloitte. They sometimes compare themselves to companies that they actually haven't done their research on. Oh, they don't do that much marketing. Actually, they do. They do a lot of marketing. They do a lot of background marketing as well. For example, they work on their ads. They have very strong ads. But you don't know that because you're not searching for them. You don't need their service, You haven't done a good enough competitor research. So I think what a lot of smaller companies do is they think, oh, we just don't need it because they didn't do it. But actually, the reason you need to do it is because they haven't done it yet,
Yeah.
Or they have done it and you just don't realize.
And also, there's so much room out there for authentic voices still.
I agree.
So, in the time of AI, and God knows I love technology, and that's what we're all about. And AI is a part of everyone's lives now, but it's also being abused by lots of people that will just copy and paste.
It's a regurgitation.
Yeah.
I've read similar posts from similar people, and I know they've put the same prompts in, and I can read AI from a mile away. You can rewrite it all you want. I will know because of how much I write. And I think it's got to a point now where I do believe ChatGPT, for example, is a fantastic tool to help you write. I completely on board with that. As long as you're coming up with your own ideas, you can't just ask ChatGPT, can you please write a post for me? I have an accountancy firm. You need to say, my accountancy firm has now just adopted a new, apprentice scheme, and this apprentice scheme aims to do X, Y, Z. And what I really want to do is see in 5 years that these people are at this level. Like, really go to your feelings, your truth, not so much just, can you write a post for me? Like, we have apprentices now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me about the value of apprenticeships in general.
Exactly. And why as a company have you adopted apprenticeships? Because actually we do need to see a change for the people in the future. So talk about that and keep that as a recurring theme between your content. If you're actually passionate about that, keep talking about it. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, we did a post on that, we shouldn't do it again. No, keep talking about it.
Yeah, particularly stuff that's actually worked well. So one thing that I've realized over time, and I kind of learnt the hard way by just going at it myself and watching and listening to other gurus, etc., and other people that have done well and seeing what they do. And you learn that once you have a good piece of content, you can actually reuse it, but probably in different formats. So maybe if you did a text post one day or a post with a picture, the next time you might do a little carousel, or you might do a video around the same topic. So where are you finding success in certain topics? People consume things in different ways, and it can be good to reuse the content. And also, someone might not have seen it the first time.
100%. I always say, just assume that 20% of your audience has seen it. So if we're regurgitating the same kind of content, actually we're reworking it. We're making sure that they really understand our values. We're not just saying, yeah, we love X, Y, Z, and we just leave it there and hope that everybody knows that we love that, for example.
Awesome. So we talked about overuse of AI or overdependence on it. What other mistakes do you see people do when it comes to their personal brand?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that I feel that people are making is they will post for the sake of posting and then burn out. And I have seen it a lot. And I also understand it because when I was first posting on LinkedIn, posting on my socials, I felt that way too. I didn't know how to, for example, create batch content. And also I didn't know how to create daily content. Like, those two things for me, I've got very specific rules now. Those two things are really different. Like, I will create batch content for my sales period. I have a sales period during the year. I have a strategy and a scheme. Whereas, like, I feel like people are like, oh, let me just keep posting it. And then they burn out. They don't have a scheme, a strategy. They don't know what goes when. And I think copywriting burnout is real. Like, feeling like you have to show up all the time is real. And so you do need to have a reason for posting. For example, if I know I want to bring on a few more clients this year, I will say, okay, between March and August, that's when I'm going to bring on clients. But until then, I'm going to build my organic audience. I'm going to really work on what I need to do to reach that specific audience. And then I will try and see if they need my product, need my service, for example. So I don't just go in and be like, I need a client. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You need to be real. You need to translate. You need to build that audience. They need to know. You need to have a good engagement rate as well. The engagement rate is extremely important.
Yeah, for sure. I remember it took took me personally 9 to 12 months probably before I started to see real results. Yes, you can see traction early, but in terms of it paying off, in terms of you starting to get regular leads because of the brand that you've built, that does take time.
Completely agree.
And yeah, consistency I found was key as well.
Yeah.
So now people often struggle with knowing where to start. So let's talk about like platforms. How do I choose the right platform for my business?
I think usually what I tell people to do is follow the audience. For example, if you have a lash business, it's very niche. I don't think people are looking on LinkedIn for a lash
That's where
provider.
I've been going wrong, I think.
Yeah, that's where you're going wrong. Yeah. They are going to TikTok and they're saying lashes in Dubai, for example, and they're finding the person who they like the style of. And then I would say go and be active there. But are people looking for accountancy firms on TikTok? You know, like the likelihood is very low. And I understand why people are still active on TikTok because there should be an awareness of your company. However, if you're thinking about long-term lead generation, then I would say go to LinkedIn. So always follow where your potential clients could be. For example, if you're selling a course, I would say go to Facebook because on average, the people that use Facebook have more spending power and they have more disposable income on a general level. So, and especially here in the UAE and in America.
Probably because of age.
There is an age aspect to that. So, for example, if I'm selling a course about health and wellness for people in their 40s, I'm going to go to Facebook. You know, you have to think about where your audience is and then start from there. And also you should do your research on the platforms. You should understand who uses the platform, especially in your region. In the UAE, who's using TikTok? Is it under 20s? Is it over 40s? What is their disposable income look like? Because on Facebook, you can check.
Yeah.
So why not? You know, like, I think what a lot of people are like, oh, we need to post on all these platforms and hope we reach something. And then they'll also post on Instagram, but they won't post for Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, they'll just post a picture post or a reel that will be like, you know, like our services are now available. You know,
It's an
but
ad.
like, yeah, it's an ad, but it's organically posted.
Yeah.
And nobody needs the post, you know? So I think it's understanding the platform and then understanding your audience. Those two things are really important.
Also, and yeah, I think lots of people probably don't have the time and energy, right? So, and this is probably why you exist, I imagine.
That's why I exist. Yeah. I do the market research as well, not just the personal branding aspect. I understand, especially when I'm working, because I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs who are new. So I'm having to teach them also, this is what business looks like a little bit. You know, like this is what the process after I get you that lead, for example, what process have you got after that? Are you going to send them a proposal immediately? Or are they going to sign up and receive an email from you to book into your calendar? Like those small things, I will also be there to support, which obviously is not really my job role, but I actually like doing that because I want to see their business succeed, you know?
Of course, because it would be very short term of you to think that, oh, I just want to do this kind of just the personal branding aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, even if you were to do that really well, you know, the marketing funnel is far greater than just the personal branding aspect, right?
Yeah.
And so if you've got like water being poured into a leaky bucket, it's useless.
Yeah.
And I see this like with I've got people that work in different areas of marketing. And this is often a challenge. It's that we might be able to fix one area, but actually there's a bigger picture bit. So it's probably in your interest that you're able to help them slightly beyond just the personal branding bit.
It's 100% in my interest. And especially as you spoke about the marketing funnel, it's huge. And I'm always advocating to keep up with email marketing as well, because in the long term, email marketing is really where you're going to make the long-term customers, because they're going to be receiving good information from you. They're going to trust you, and maybe they'll refer you a lot, you know. So the emails, in my opinion, are one of the most important things that we're getting through personal branding.
Yeah.
And so I think, but a lot of people are unable to keep up with that. They don't have a system for it. If they receive the email, now what? You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I like help them bring in an email marketing expert as well. But I think it's important to have the right people for the right thing.
100%.
Yeah.
And the mistake of bringing in a marketing person and saying it didn't work is such a, I think, disservice to marketing as a discipline. Marketing is so broad, and there are specialists in different areas, and there's generalists. So it's good to get a generalist involved that probably is more strategic to help you see the big picture.
The overview, yeah.
Yeah, or to help coordinate different efforts. But often you need specialists in different areas as well that will actually deliver on the results that you need in that specific area.
Yeah. I would suggest that people bring in a consultant as a generalist from the beginning,
Yeah.
before they decide who they're going to hire and what they're going to put their budgets towards. Then they start hiring and putting their budgets towards the right things. But that generalist needs to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah.
And especially in personal branding, I feel like you need that a little bit less, but you do need the personal branding person to understand the whole sales process.
Yeah, 100%. And we could probably go on about this for a lot longer.
Yeah, because
Now, let's talk, because we love tech. So we talked about the platforms already. Are there other tools out there that are really good for someone that's either posting for their company or from a personal branding perspective? Do you use any specific tools that you'd recommend people take a look at?
there aren't many tools where I'm like super excited about at the moment. I know that there's one person bringing out a tool which I'm excited about, so I'm happy to come back and talk about that.
Okay.
But
I'll try and get sponsorship from them first.
yeah, I'll give them to you to contact and make that partnership happen. But yeah, like I think project management tools really help in the whole process anyway.
Yeah, like an Asana or a Trello or something.
I use Asana, yeah.
Asana's
I love
great.
Asana.
Love
Yeah.
it. I've got a lot of time for Asana. If you want to sponsor, you know where I am.
Yeah. Sponsor him. Where am I looking? Sponsor him.
No, Asana's great. We used it for many years, and I think it's actually got better and better over the last few years.
I agree. And the free version is fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is it. You don't have to actually spend a
You
lot of
don't
money.
actually spend a lot. Yeah.
If anything. So Asana's great. I actually use a tool on LinkedIn, not to help me with the copywriting, but actually just to see what things are like. There's a tool called Authored Up.
Yeah, I know.
Again, no sponsorship here, not getting anything from this. But I just think it's a really nice tool to be able to help you structure. It's also like gives you examples of like hooks that you could use if you want to get into that side of thing. You get to preview what your post would look like on the desktop and mobile, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's got some like stats about your engagement, etc. So it gives you a little bit more.
I think that's really good. If you don't know how to read the LinkedIn engagement stats, this is a fantastic tool, as you just mentioned, to really round it up and make you understand your audience, because sometimes you can be writing and eventually realize you're not actually reaching the right audience. So what am I going to tailor now? So it's really fantastic. I agree with you.
But I'm less of a fan, admittedly, of the tools that will do the writing for you.
Okay.
Particularly if they are encouraging just the posting, like we'll do it all for you.
Yeah.
Giving you a starting point, I'm more understandable of where they're coming from for that. But I always think you've got to tweak it a lot more. Otherwise, we start to see this regurgitation of similar content that you can spot a mile off, right?
Unfortunately. But you know what? Like I said previously, I still think use the AI tools if you feel not confident with writing.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you're tailoring it to your business. Give it as much information as you can.
100%. Now, in terms of you and where you're going with the business, like what do you see as the future of GoFounder?
I would like to build a community behind GoFounder, because a lot of founders will benefit off having that connection with these other founders. For example, I work with people in America. I work with people here in the UAE, in the MENA region, in the UK. If these people know each other and they start to understand what the other person does, what they offer, they can start to refer those people out. I really want to create a community where we're all working together. And so I am working on that, and I've got a few things in mind.
Yeah, because I've seen that you've actually run some female events already here in the UAE.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Oh my goodness. I do so many things, Evan. I feel like you don't know me very well.
I don't.
No, I'm just kidding.
You're always gallivanting around the world.
I'm always gallivanting, yeah. So I have a women's only community here where I bring women together who, like, it's usually Muslim women because they want to be able to like dress however they want and do whatever they want. And I run parties for them, and they're very private parties. It's female only. The staff is female. And so it's just a space for women to be women by themselves. And then also I get to bring a lot of brands to them, and the brands have been very generous and been able to give freebies, and like they can really the brand gets to have that exposure from my community, and my community gets to have what the brand is giving away. And it's a really fun thing. I love it. It's my favorite thing that I'm doing right now. I'm also becoming a content creator. And I've noticed that because I need a creative outlet, I'm very much somebody who likes to do many things. I've always been like that. That's why I was studying to become a lawyer, but also working in personal branding. I've always been like that. So I enjoy having many plates.
You do sound very busy, and as someone that's also recently started a community, I totally get the satisfaction.
I didn't know
that.
about this.
Yeah, so we started, so at the last Accounting Refigured in May, we launched a community called The Counting Room.
Cool.
And it's all for like accounting and finance people in the UAE, no matter what accounting body they're from or the walk of life. If you looking to like push the industry forward, and particularly if you're interested in the tech that can help you do that, we've kind of brought those forward-thinking accountants together. We do kind of monthly like coffee mornings, we do workshops quarterly, and this kind of, and there's a free WhatsApp group as well. So yeah, it's been really satisfactory, I think, like really enjoyable getting these people together and just enabling them to have these conversations, because, you know, often people in the same industry look at each other as competition, but actually what I've seen work in the UK, and the UK has done this really well, and so some other markets, is getting together a community can actually help drive an industry forward. There's enough business out there for everyone.
I'm on the same page with you, 100%. Like, you know, last night I was at the Love in Dubai Awards, and somebody came up to me, and they're a huge agency owner. And I love their agency. I love everything that they do. They came up to me and I was like, I introduced myself. I said what I do. And they said, oh, and they were like, oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous now. And I was like, why? And they were like, oh, because we're competition. And I said something that nobody's in competition with me, but I was just kidding. I don't know you. No, I'm kidding. But I was just kind of like, no, like, let's work together. And I started to give them some advice based on like a few things that they had concerns with, even though their agency is like 5 times bigger than mine. And they're really great at what they do. I love what they're doing. They still feel that like doubt or like, oh, there's so much competition out there. And I just don't have that mindset at all. So I do think I changed their mind last night. I really gave them a rant of like how we're not in competition together. We're growing together.
Go you. Yeah, I'm all for that. And it's genuinely something that we try and instill in people is, hey, there's lots of work out there for everyone. Let's help each other, because we will all benefit if we drive this industry forward. And if more of our prospective clients understand what we do, then there's more people that will be looking for us, right? And they can benefit
100%.
from the work that we do. So totally get that. Okay, yeah. So the last thing I want to ask you before we kind of wrap up is a harsh truth. So what's something that you think business owners or those that are interested, let's say founders of businesses, those that are interested in putting themselves out there, what's one of the biggest mistakes they make? One of the harsh truths that you think they need to hear to kind of get over the...
I mean, I think the harshest truth is it's time to niche. And I think everybody wants to say, no, but we need to offer them all these different things so that they can purchase all these packages at once. And I understand where they're coming from. I'm sure they've got, especially if they're a solopreneur, I'm sure they've got all these different skills. But what do you want to be known for? And what do people come to you for? Because I definitely believe, and I've seen it happen so many times, where you try and offer so many things and people are overwhelmed by it. They don't really know what you do still. You're explaining, yeah, I do this. And then for some clients, I do that. And, you know, and like sometimes I offer this and they're still like, okay, so what do you do? You know, and it's time to niche down. I've been trying to, even one of my clients at the moment, I've been trying to get him to niche down for the last 6 months. And as soon as we kind of started niching down and we started having more trajectory towards our outreach, we've noticed a huge difference. It's in literally the last month, we've noticed a huge difference. So I know for a fact, working in this industry, working with so many founders, it's time to niche down.
I think that's fantastic advice to finish on. And actually, one of our previous guests, Reza, will really, really resonate with that. It's kind of pun in there, unintended, Reza resonating. But yeah, he was really big on niching as well. Okay. And so yeah, I totally agree with you, because you can't try and be everything for everyone, because otherwise you're just going to get lost in the noise of everyone trying to do the same thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, amazing advice. And I think lots of people will still not listen to it, unfortunately. But hopefully if we can get through
maybe one day.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get through to a few people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think if we keep putting the same messaging out there, eventually it will land with someone.
I mean, the biggest entrepreneurs in the world will tell you to do it. And then they'll tell you once you've mastered that niche and once everybody knows you for that, You move on to the next.
Yeah.
You bring that in. But when somebody comes to you, they should know what they're coming to you for, and they should understand already what you're offering.
100%.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for coming on, Mouna. It's been really, really enjoyable having you. If someone wants to find out more about you and what you do, or to get in touch, what's the best way to find you?
I mean, you can find me on my LinkedIn, Mouna Ramdani, or GoFounder Personal Branding.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Eamon.
Thank you. So that's it for another episode of Habibis Numbers. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I certainly did. Mouna and I have known each other a little while now, and she's always got pearls of wisdom to share. So if you enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It does help us more than you can imagine. Until next time, guys. Bye now.